Who is really in charge? Princess Charlotte is. She's a diligent royal who tends to stay out of the spotlight. Her hard work is clear. Some call Princess Royal rude, but many see her as a steadying force for the monarchy. Recently, the royal family faced a scandal that almost ruined a young girl's future. A simple family event quickly turned dark when it uncovered evidence that someone was trying to frame Charlotte. The trap was so well hidden that William and Catherine had no idea their daughter was in danger. Charlotte, the daughter of Prince William and Kate Middleton, will turn 10 on May 2nd. Anne's instincts kicked in, and her actions brought her to tears, forever changing the situation. Now let's explore how all this unfolded. The near disaster. That could have shattered everything. Princess Charlotte's first big public appearance was meant to be a special moment. The palace picked her to represent the royal family at a charity event for children in London. It was intended as a gentle step into royal life, a chance for Charlotte to show her natural kindness. The event was small, just a few children, some flowers, and kind words. Everything seemed perfect. But Princess Anne sensed something was wrong. She had been watching the plans for weeks. At first, she noticed subtle signs, staff acting tense, whispered conversations when she entered rooms, and schedule changes nobody explained. Having spent years in royal service, Anne knew the difference between nerves and something worse. The signs were there, but she needed proof before taking action. Things changed when Anne overheard two event staff talking about Charlotte's appearance. They said they wanted to make sure she'd never forget the day. At first she thought they meant it in a good way, like making memories. But as she listened more closely, she realized they had darker plans. Anne began questioning the event staff more openly, asking innocent questions. Her investigation revealed something chilling. Someone had spent months preparing a trap. What looked like a normal royal event was actually meant to humiliate Charlotte. Everything had been carefully arranged for maximum embarrassment. Her dress had been secretly altered to be too long, so she'd almost trip on the steps. The flowers, she was too present, were heavy and awkward, hard for a small girl to hold. It was a cruel setup designed to shake her confidence in front of the world. Every detail had been changed to cause her shame, making the entire thing a carefully planned attack. The microphone had been set to make her young voice sound small and unsure. The biggest shock was still ahead, and it made Anne cry when she saw it hidden in the event coordinator's files and uncovered the truth. Charlotte was supposed to give a short speech to the kids, but her words had been changed without anyone in the royal family knowing. The new speech was full of hard words that a 9-year-old should not be expected to say perfectly. Struggled photographers would catch every confused, embarrassed moment. But the worst part was the photographers themselves. They had specific instructions on which angles to shoot from, which moments to focus on, and how to make Charlotte appear tiny and overwhelmed. Their goal was to create images that would haunt her for life. Pictures that would make people doubt if she was ready for royal duties. They'd question her strength and wonder if putting her in the spotlight was a mistake. That's when Anne's heart broke. When she saw how cruel the plan really was, she locked herself in her office and couldn't hold back her tears. She wept for an innocent girl who had no idea what was coming. Anne had faced many tough times in her royal life. She's known for being honest and hardworking. Last year, she was the hardest working royal for many years. But she had never dealt with something so cruel. She thought about Charlotte's excitement over the last few weeks. The girl had been practicing her speech, picking her favorite dress, and talking proudly about representing her family. Charlotte had no clue that trusted people planned to humiliate her on the big day. The event was set for the next day. Anne had less than a day to stop a plan that had been in the works for months. She couldn't ask William and Catherine, who were on an official trip overseas and wouldn't get back in time. She couldn't tell King Charles either, as that might bring too much attention and warn the plotters. So Anne decided to handle this alone, just like she had with many family problems before. She had seen too many young royals fall under the pressure of public opinion and harsh media. She refused to let that happen to Charlotte. It's not on her watch. Her first move was to call an urgent meeting with the event team. She didn't tell them what she knew. She pretended it was just a regular check. But she saw every change, every trap. The team said the updates were improvements or new ideas, but Anne recognized the signs. She saw through their lies and knew something was wrong. What came next would put every long-standing relationship Anne had built through years of royal service to the test. As she looked closer into who was behind the scheme, she uncovered something even more shocking than the plan itself. The sabotage was happening from within the royal household. People who had sworn loyalty to the family, been trusted with their private lives, were the ones plotting Charlotte's downfall. Anne found evidence pointing to approval from someone higher up in the royal ranks, someone who should have protected Charlotte but was instead giving orders to ruin her. The proof suggested a conspiracy that reached deep into the core of the royal family, involving individuals Anne had known and trusted for many years. The attack aimed to remove Charlotte, a bright and confident young princess representing hope and new beginnings. The conspirators saw her as a threat to their own power and influence. They were willing to destroy a child's future to protect their position. The pressure was immense. Anne knew if she acted too quickly or openly, the enemies would just delay their plan and try again later. But waiting too long meant Charlotte could fall into their trap and face lifelong consequences. Anne needed to find a way to stop the plot. Without revealing how much she knew, she had to shield Charlotte from future dangers too. The clock was ticking, and she felt the burden of her duty weighing heavily on her. She had always been the family's silent protector, handling crises in quiet ways. But this time, the stakes felt higher than ever. That night changed everything. The night before a big charity event, Anne made a choice that altered her entire plan. She couldn't cancel the event without drawing attention. Still, she could do her best to protect Charlotte from the worst dangers set up for her. She worked through the night behind the scenes, undoing months of sabotage. First, she fixed Charlotte's dress. A trusted seamstress was sent secretly to the palace. The alterations were corrected and extra safety features added so Charlotte could walk easily without tripping, and also arranged a private dress rehearsal. Charlotte practiced walking in her outfit, gaining confidence with each try. Next, Anne addressed the speech problems. She couldn't change the words without calling attention, but she made sure Charlotte was ready. She spent hours helping her practice difficult parts and teaching tricks to handle tricky sections. Anne knew she had to be careful to keep her efforts hidden. Still, she was determined to give Charlotte the best shot to succeed. She made it look like extra prep rather than emergency fix-up. Anne knew she had to face the photographers and media head-on. Using her many years of experience and her wide network, she quietly guided how the event was covered. She put trusted allies into key spots, ensuring that even if Charlotte was overwhelmed, the photos would show her in a good light, not in a humiliating or hurtful way. Handling the microphone was the trickiest part. It couldn't be changed without sounding the alarm to the sound team, so Anne set up a backup system. Someone was trying to sabotage Charlotte's voice. Her team could jump in immediately. Still, Anne understood she couldn't shield Charlotte from everything. Her enemies had planned carefully, and there might be traps she hadn't seen yet. She had to stay sharp all through the event, ready to step in if needed. The morning of the event brought new tests for Anne. The sun shone brightly, but she felt nothing but worry. She'd spent the night planning every detail, yet she knew the conspirators watched for any slip-up. She had to act normal but stay alert, ready to defend Charlotte at a moment's notice. Charlotte arrived early at the palace, full of excitement and nerves. Watching her rehearse her speech again, Anne's heart ached. The young princess had no idea of the silent fight around her. Her innocent trust made Anne even more determined to keep her safe, no matter what happened. As the time to leave drew near, Anne saw more tension among the staff. The conspirators looked anxious, probably worried their plan might fall apart. She caught some secret signals between the event staff and knew they communicated in code. She made a mental note to watch their moves closely that day. Anne rode with Charlotte and her security team. She talked lightly, but kept her mind sharp. She ran through all the possible threats. She had plans for the most obvious traps, but she knew the enemies were clever and might surprise her. She kept studying Charlotte's face, memorizing her excitement and confidence. Anne prayed the day wouldn't dim the sparkle in her eyes. When they pulled up at the venue, she saw that some arrangements had been changed again. The stage setup looked different from what was shown in the plans, and unfamiliar faces appeared among the photographers. Anne realized the conspirators had made last-minute changes, likely to prevent any interference they sensed. Then the trap was set off, and Anne's worst fears started coming true. When Charlotte stepped onto the stage and immediately sensed something was off. The lights had been adjusted to cast harsh shadows on Charlotte's face, making her seem younger and more vulnerable than she was. The photographers were in the exact spots and expected, ready to take unflattering shots. But Charlotte handled the lighting change with ease, instinctively shifting her posture and smiling to work with the new conditions. Anne's heart swelled with pride watching her great niece remain calm under pressure. Charlotte had inherited the family's knack for adjusting and pushing through, even if she didn't realize she was being tested. The flower presentation went smoothly because of Anne's behind-the-scenes efforts. Charlotte carried the heavy bouquets gracefully, and her warmth showed as she interacted with the children. Anne could see some photographers getting frustrated. They weren't getting the embarrassing pictures they wanted. Dawn held her breath as Charlotte began to speak. The microphone had been set to make her voice sound thin and unsure, but Anne's backup plan kicked in fast. Her trusted sound technician made a quick adjustment, bringing Charlotte's voice back to normal. Most people didn't even notice the change. Charlotte tackled the tricky words in her speech with ease. Anne watched proudly as her great-niece used the skills they'd practiced. She took her time with tough pronunciations and stayed calm with unfamiliar phrases. Instead of stumbling, Charlotte showed real composure for someone her age. The conspirators' plan was falling apart right in front of them. Instead of creating awkward moments, they were accidentally highlighting Charlotte's natural talent and strength. They looked frustrated as their carefully planned trap failed to catch her. When the event finished successfully, Anne felt a mix of relief and anger. Odd. Relief because Charlotte was safe from the worst, but anger that anyone would try to attack her at all. Charlotte had handled herself beautifully, showing poise that even experienced royals would admire. But Anne knew her work wasn't done. She had to deal with the conspirators directly. She didn't, they would keep trying with new tricks. Anne needed to send a message that protected Charlotte and all other young royals who might face these threats in the future. The final showdown was about to happen. After Charlotte left the event and arranged a private meeting with the main conspirators, she wanted to avoid a scene or media attention, but needed to make them see what could happen if they continued. She had proof of their plan and was ready to use it if needed. Anne didn't shout or threaten. She simply laid out her evidence and asked for their side of the story. At first, they denied everything, but her detailed records left no room for doubt. She had proof of their meetings, copies of their messages, and evidence of the changes they made to the event plans. When they saw they couldn't deny it, they finally broke down and confessed. They claimed they only wanted to protect the monarchy from what they saw as dangerous changes. They thought Charlotte and the young royals threatened traditional values and the hierarchy of the royal house. Anne listened with growing disgust. These people almost destroyed a girl's confidence in her future just because they disagreed. With the new direction of the royal family, their selfishness and cruelty were unlike anything Anne had seen in her years of service. She was determined to stop this kind of thing from happening again. Choosing how to deal with the conspirators was one of her hardest decisions. She could have exposed them publicly, risking scandal and destroying their careers, or even leading 2 legal charges. But she knew a scandal would also harm Charlotte. It would drag her into the negative spotlight they sought to create. Instead, Anne took a different route. She quietly removed the conspirators from their roles, places where they could do more harm. They were sent to work in other jobs, far from royal events and sensitive information. Anne also made sure their actions were kept secret in files, so they would never be trusted with important work again. Protecting Charlotte came at a personal cost for Anne. The stress of the investigation and confrontation affected her health and her standing in the royal house. Some people thought she overreacted, while others wondered if she handled things the right way. Anne felt more alone than she ever had before. She carried the weight of knowing about the conspiracy but couldn't reveal the full truth. Her relationship with the royal family shifted as well. Charlotte remained unaware of what had happened and found it hard to trust those involved in the plot. Once trust breaks, it's tough to fix, and Anne grew suspicious of who might pose a threat to the family's safety. Months after the charity event, Anne reflected on the incident and its impact on the future of the royal family. Charlotte came out of it stronger and more confident, unaware of the danger she had escaped, yet understood her role as protector was never truly over. The royal family would always face threats from those with bad intentions. Someone would always need to stand guard. The tears Anne shed that day showed her grief over how even innocent children weren't safe from the adult world's dark games. Her quiet bravery kept Princess Charlotte safe from a trap that could have shattered her confidence forever. It also exposed a harsh side of royal life most people never see. Do you think Anne made the right choice by handling this in secret? Should the public know more about the risks royal children face behind palace walls? Share your thoughts below.